What's up, nerds? Welcome back. It would appear that once again I was right, and you will see exactly what I mean as we dive into Radiant Black issue number 10. So, if you remember, issue 9 was not only sad, but it ended on a cliffhanger where we saw basically Nathan was about to be taken off of life support and die, but Marshall was not willing to accept that. He ended up, I guess, daring the Radiant to kind of like help him because he knew that it could help him save Nathan. So right before a train hit him, it had kind of just teleported into himself, I guess, or into the Radiant. So that's where we're picking up, where we see him kind of falling through this. And I gotta say, the color work that is going on in this issue is just awesome. But we'll get into that. Anyway, so he's falling through into this. He kind of like puts himself in his suit, and then he kind of just looks ahead. It almost kind of looks like Tron, sort of. So he just kind of looks ahead and he's like, well, I guess this is the way I gotta go. So we see where he's just kind of like walking that way. And then the giant robot thing comes out to kind of like greet him. So it says, hello, Marshall. Welcome to existence. So he's just saying, like, where are we? Are we inside like a black hole? And it tells him we are everywhere. So he's like, okay, that's somehow less specific and more confusing. Just forget I asked. Anyway, he says they took Nathan off of life support. And so the robot starts telling him, like, well, to reach Nathan Burnett, you will have to, like, what? You have to reach truth. There is only truth in existence. So he's like, wait, is that a place? Like how you call this existence? Which way is truth? So it just tells him this way. And it starts walking him to, like, this other portal and shit. And the whole way there, it's basically just talking to him, telling him to attempt this will come at great cost. You will not succeed. He's like, yeah, you already said that. It says, will you reconsider? You will die. He says, he's my best friend. If there's a chance to save him, I'll go wherever. I'll do whatever. I'll hit whatever. You understand what I'm saying? So it just says, understood. It says, the path to truth is indirect and fatal. The terrain is treacherous and fatal. Travel the helix through existence. You will find truth if existence does not consume you first. So he's like, wait, you're not coming with me? And it tells him, no, this is about as far as I can go. Remember, Marshall, there was only truth in existence. He's like, okay. So he walks up, he's like, so what do I have to do? Do I have to touch this thing or what happens? And yeah, as he goes to touch it, it teleports him to his next area, I guess. So we see where he's like falling. And again, like I said, just the color work in here. I can only imagine how maddening it was to actually have to color this. So I appreciate it. Anyway, he shows up where that other one that was hunting all of them earlier in like earlier issues is now there, because if you remember when they basically beat it, the giant hand came out of Marshall's chest and like pulled him into it. So this is where he's been. And so he's telling him again, like, welcome to existence. He tries to like spark a fight with him, but he's like, look, there's no point trying to fight me. You're not going to win or whatever. He says, your robot acquaintance did. Yeah, he's asking him, like, I already dealt with you. He's like, no, the robot did. He says, then we made a deal, he and I. You are here to attempt the impossible, to navigate existence and retrieve your friend. I will guide you to truth. When you fail, I will retrieve the radiance. So he's telling him like, oh yeah, you're going to go with me so that when I die, not that I was planning on dying, but so that when I die, you can go ahead and take the radiant and get some even more dope powers. So he's like, that's where he tells him, like, even if I was going to die, which I wasn't going to, that's not going to happen. Now I'm going to make sure that I don't die. So he tells him, I have no interest in sinking, only protecting the Radiant. You have no hope in existence. So he's like, man, are you a shitty guide? Is there literally anyone else who can take me? He's like, no. So we get this whole thing where they start walking into this, and yes, you end up having to, like, turn the book all the way around to read it. So pretty cool. But anyway, they start walking through and he's asking, like, what the hell is this thing that we're walking through? And he tells him, we'll use the stellar pathway to move through domains. The helix leads to the first stellar access point. So he's telling him, like, so are you like an alien? And he tells him, with luck, well, he says, with luck, existence will not consume you before you reach your truth. Anyway, he asks him, are you an alien? And this is where he finally, like, kind of gives him a name. He says I am 001. So, doesn't really have a name, just a number. Anyway, he says, marked for death by, I'm assuming, the big robot thing, because it's in that alien language. He says, now in service to the way. And Marshall's just like, yeah, I don't know what any of that means. So, They keep walking, and he says, soon it won't matter, you'll be dead. And he's like, is that a catchphrase or something? Because I have notes. So they keep walking, and they teleport into this new place. And he immediately tries to warn him, like, look, you need to be careful. This place is sentient. It's alive. Like, it can detect things. So he's saying, take stock before we go any further. He's like, sorry, what do we have to do before we go any further? He's like, look, if you don't pay attention, you'll die. He's like, you already told me I'm going to die. So they keep walking, and then that's where he tells him, like, the place is alive. And then Marshall tells him, sorry, I can't keep this straight. Are we talking about the idea or the place? Because he says that this place only cares about one thing, truth. So that's when we get this, like, projection that starts talking to Marshall in the form of Nathan. He's like, no way. There's no way that's actually you. This whole, like, flaming ghost thing isn't going to work to trick me or anything. So it tells him, I'm not trying to trick you. There is only truth in existence. My hope is that appearing to you this way will help you to listen when I say you shouldn't do this, Marshall. You're not ready to be here. This will not end well. But if you must continue on this path, I will gladly take you. Just know it will be a one-way trip. So that's when he asks him, like, does the path lead to Nathan? And it doesn't answer at first, but then he kind of gets sly with it. He's like, there is only truth in existence. Does the path lead to Nathan? So that's when it's like, well, shit, yes. So it answers him, and he's like, well, then that's all I need to know. And he tries to blast at it. But of course, it just, like, disappears. And it's like, oh, Marshall, I thought we were friends. Oh, well. So that's where he's saying, like, do you really think that I'm scared of your little cosmic ghost act? You think I'm afraid of any of this? So that's when 001 comes up and is telling him, like, you idiot, don't you remember when I told you this place is alive? Like, it's always paying attention. Do you think this place is not aware of what you are here to do? You cannot succeed unless existence allows it. And then all of a sudden they get attacked by all of these whatever the hell they are. So he tells them, like, you need to activate, like, your secondary mode. He's like, the cape? I can't really do that at will. So he's like, all right, fine, then run. So the ghost thing is telling him, like, I thought you said you weren't afraid of cosmic ghosts. So they keep going, and then Marshall asks 001, like, okay, what's the plan? So eventually he tells them, like, an alternate path, and then he manages to, like, summon this portal and teleport them a short distance away. So we see that that short distance apparently is another, like, part of this whole adventure, where now they've kind of, like, stripped down the color, and they kind of see where that's kind of going on. Anyway, so they land. He's saying, like, what the hell? Like, you were able to teleport this whole time, and you've had us, like, running and shit. But he says it takes a full energy reserve to overcome the gravity for minimal range. So he's like, but you were charged being near me, right? So if it doesn't matter if it blows your reserves. I'm the reserve's reserve, right? And he's just like, yeah, that's technically true. So he says, okay, fine. See, not completely incompetent. Also, this all looks cosmic as fuck. So this is where he can kind of see that there's some pink reflecting off of him, and he's saying, like, oh, I've got some pink on me. And the guy tells him, like, the light of existence, your idiocy forced us here. Through a domain stripped of all artifice, your being is a beacon. So we can see there's still more of, like, the alien language there in the middle. And then he says, like, what does this mean? Where's your highlights? But he tells him, I'm not the one existence wants. So Marshall just says, okay, well, as much fun as that sounds to unpack. He's like, look, I'm just trying to save my best friend, okay? Who's not actually dead, might I remind you. So he's saying, like, sorry, there's a thing that's asking me questions. So they just kind of keep going, and then he tells him, there's no stopping it now, Marshall. Existence will take your only hope is... will take you. Your only hope is reaching truth first. So again, they kind of teleport a short distance, and then he sees, like, this giant thing that kind of looks like Nathan again, that this time is telling him, like, hello, we're learning so much about you, and our light has only started to reflect. Why are you here? And he tells him, like, you know why I'm here. I'm here to save my friend and everything. So he tells him, you're lying. He's like, I'm lying? He's like, I'm here risking everything to save Nathan. Why would I be lying? He says there is only truth in existence. So he tries to, like, shoot at him and everything, and then 001 is telling him, like, what the hell are you doing, as he's, like, blasting at this thing. And then we see where he also kind of, like, helps him out and shit. So they kind of, like, keep fighting with it. They teleport again, I guess, a little bit, or 001 does at least. So anyway, Marshall finally gets his cape back, and then he's telling, well, 001 tells him, like, he stands before you and the Stellar. So he's like, all right, fine, then let's get direct. And he tells him, you know what, since I'm in my cape mode, you should be completely, like, charged up again. So I need you to make a teleportation portal for me on the other side of this asshole, like, right now. So as he's flying at him, he does that, and then 001 tells him, like, stay on the path, you'll find truth. So he teleports again into this other dimension, or other part of this existence and shit. And now we can see where his speech bubbles, which were just yellow before, now take on orange and then even a little bit of pink. And he's just kind of walking through. He's all winded and shit. As he's coming, finally the alien language becomes legible and says, "Why are you here? There is only truth in existence. Why are you here?" So we see this disturbance that teleports him yet again into this, where it's telling him like, "Oh, there you are. We can see, or now I see you. Show me." So we see just this explosion of color, which just looks really fucking cool. And that's what I was saying. Like, this whole issue with all the colors and everything, just very well done. Anyway, so it's asking him again, like, "Why are you here?" And he's like, "I've told you. I don't know how many other ways to say it." And it asks him, "Why are you afraid of the truth?" And he's like, "I'm not. I'm not." So he's like, "Huh, I'm not." So it asks him again, "Why are you here?" He says, "I don't know. I thought I did. Do you know why I'm here?" And it's like, "Yeah, so do you." So he says, "My best friend is still alive. Wherever you have him, he needs to come back. Please. I just want to save my friend." And asks him why. And he says, "Because I care. I love him." So it says, "Stop lying." He's like, "I'm not lying." So it says, "There is only truth in existence yet again." And this is where we finally get the breakdown, where Marshall's saying, like, he deserves this, not me. And it asks him why. So he says, he did it. His life has a purpose. He's actually chasing a dream. He moved on. And it asks him, moved on from what? He's like, from his hometown, from his family, from me. So it's asking him, like, "Oh, you?" He's like, "Yes." Like, no, he should. What? And he should have. "I'm nothing. I've done nothing." Is asking him why. He's like, "I don't know. Because I'm not enough, okay? I'm not enough." And it says, "Why are you here?" And this is where he finally breaks down. He says, "Because I hate him. I fucking hate Nathan." And then he just kind of like falls down. The alien doesn't even say anything. And he's saying like, "No, I don't hate him. I hate what he shows me is possible. What he is, what I'm not. I love Nathan. I hate me." So this is where he finally does like one of those heroic things where he just kind of like yells out into existence, which causes another explosion of color. And then finally Nathan shows up and he's telling him like, "You might think that's true, but it's not the truth." So he's like, "You're not nothing." And then he asks Nathan, he's like, "Is it you? Like, is it really you?" He's like, "Well, yeah, sort of. Like, it is me, but I'm also part of like all of this. So it's kind of hard to explain, but yeah, I am here." He says, "Oh, they say we can go now if you're ready." So he's telling Marshall tells him, I don't think I am." So he's telling him like, "Look, I've known you your whole life. I know who you are. You're enough. You're more than enough. And are you kidding me? You've done some amazing things. You're on an adventure. Everyone goes on one. Yours is just different than mine." So he's telling him like, "I'm afraid, Marshall." I mean, Nathan tries to tell him like, you can do this." And he's like, "I don't think so." And then he says, "Of course you can. I know it." So he says, "How? How could you possibly know that?" But Nathan tells him, "Because there's only truth in existence." So that's where Marshall finally breaks down and says, "I was going to offer to trade, like they could have kept me and let you go back." And he's saying like, "Yeah, they're sorry. That would have been too easy. Knowing the truth, that's the first test. Now you have to do something about it." So he says something's coming, something big, and they didn't really know if you would be ready for it, but now they do know after sending you on this whole little thing. So he's even saying like, "I always knew that you would be able to step up." So Marshall tells him, "I really missed you." He says, "I missed you too." And then he's saying like, "So what do you think? Should we get out of here?" And he like points up to this like giant portal above them. And then he's saying like, "Yeah, how?" So he's saying like, "You're a superhero now, remember? They told me that you can fly." So that's where they start flying. And we see that they go from like an outline to like the colors we saw earlier, and then more colors we saw earlier until they're finally whole again. So like I said, the color work wasn't just awesome, it actually played into the actual story as they're coming back into our plane of reality. It just kind of shows like they're going through all these different planes of existence, I guess. So Marshall's telling him like, "I'll say one thing for sure. So far, all of this, it's been one hell of an adventure." And that's where Nathan tells him like, "Yeah, you said it, man," as Marshall is like breaking out in tears and shit. So that's where this ends. And this is why I was saying I knew that this was going to happen ever since Nathan died. I was like, I figured that he's not actually dead. He will come back in some way. I wasn't sure how. I knew it would be convoluted and it would be complicated and very difficult, which is exactly what it was. But I knew that he was going to be coming back. I was like, there's no way that he's actually dead. He'll come back. I just didn't know exactly how. So now that I've seen it, I'm like, okay, that was how. I knew that that was going to happen, but I mean, I'm not mad at it because the fact of the matter is, like, it was still an entertaining read. There was a lot of character development there where we finally see where Marshall isn't just that one-dimensional character of like, oh, I'm gonna go and save my friend because he's my best friend. No, instead it's more like, he has his own issues with Nathan, but then he comes to realize, no, I have issues with myself, and that's just kind of like where I kind of was holding it against him in like in a subconscious type of way. So all of it was just very nicely done. And I gotta say, I didn't expect this series to be so enjoyable when I first started reading, especially not when I first started reading it. In the first few issues, I was just annoyed with Nathan and the way that he was going about things and the way that like the story was playing out. As it has gone on, it has gotten better and better, which I mean, I don't really know what more I can ask for from this, you know what I mean? So I don't know what's going to happen next. Obviously, they're going to take him back. Hopefully they haven't taken Nathan off of the life support. So we'll see exactly how that's going to play out, because I'm sure Nathan's parents are going to be very happy that he's back. And I wonder how Marshall is going to react after like Nathan's mom basically like freaked out on him, told him to like shut the hell up, and like that he needed to just stop like playing pretend and all that shit. So we'll see how that, if it were me, I'd walk into the room, look her dead in the eye and be like, so who knows what's actually going on now, And then I would just ignore it for the rest of the day. But I mean, that would just be me. So we'll see what happens in the next issue. I'm not sure when exactly it's coming out. I think it said it there at the bottom, but I didn't pay attention at the end. So we'll see what happens. And of course, I will be making a video to talk about it. But I think that's about all I have to say on this particular issue. So I mean, if anybody out there is keeping up with this, do feel free to let me know what you thought about this. What do you think about the story? Even if you didn't read it, you just saw it here on my video, feel free to share your thoughts with me down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the video, then definitely make sure to hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed, hit the notification bell. That way you know when I have new reviews up for you to watch. And if you'd like to share the video, I appreciate it. I always appreciate it. But if you're done here, then go and read a book, especially this one. And if not, then I'll see you on my next video.